Hello, I am House of Antium with the Global Mirror Times GMT Newscast tonight. This evening in Rome, Fischnitzel, aka BoooooogieMan, resigns from the Supreme Court. Masenko releases Volume 2 of his Roman histories. And in our top story, President Solace goes on the offensive against the Supreme Court's inactivity. Tonight, President Solace posted remarks in an unaffiliated editorial attacking the Supreme Court for inactivity. The piece titled, "The Court Has Failed Us," of which the President appeared nervous about publishing and expressed regret if he offended someone of his close connections. The piece would go on to state, "I know for a fact that multiple members of this community have put forth, on that form specifically, lawsuits. I also note, for all of us now, there has not been a post on that subreddit for a full month. I am of the opinion that yes, on one hand, the justices have little or less to do. I am also of the opinion that there is no reason for this. Let me explain. Nothing is stopping anyone, including justices, from filing lawsuits. The justices themselves could file lawsuits if they see things wrong, and that would be perfectly legal in our system. I am of the opinion that too many of them are stuck in the MK2 ways, where it was not possible. On top of that, the justices themselves are now formally, and by me, being accused of laziness. That's right. I am friends and allies to many, if not all of our esteemed justices, but I cannot stand by for another month and watch them do nothing, when they have the tools at their disposal to do all that they wish. The only thing that they have done is mention an international disputes case on the Discord, but nothing has been filed." The President would go on to have discussion with members of the court in the comments below, and many, including those on the bench, stated regret over the court's actions, although the source of the inactivity has remained controversial. Fischnitzel announced tonight that he would be stepping down from the Supreme Court after criticism from the President's office. Although President Solace's words were not directly targeting Mr. Fischnitzel, it is clear the former court judge took them to heart, saying this morning, "I am Fischnitzel, aka BoooooogieMan. I was the criminal court judge and got recently appointed to the position of justice in the Supreme Court. Due to recent events, I hereby announce I will be stepping down from my position. The reason for this is my failure as the criminal judge and my missing of activity once I was appointed to the Supreme Court. As you may have heard, quote, my 2 cents edition 3, the court has failed us, end quote, and more in the discussion in the comment section, the criminal system has, and I paraphrase here, problems and issues. One of them is that 2 criminal investigations were submitted before I got appointed to the Supreme Court. Back to quoting now. I neither noticed nor reacted to, even though I should have done this. On the other hand, since my appointment, I lack the time and energy to actually do work, as the new position would have required me to do. Both these things that can't happen if you want to work as a justice for our nation. The Supreme Court can't function when people like me have those kind of responsibilities." He would go on to apologize for the burden of his resignation and the burden to the community, and finally urging the Roman people to disband the criminal court. And finally, in political news this week, the Supreme Court Justice Ninja Otter has requested representatives to defend Songhai in the international dispute case, where it is yet to be heard whether the recent controversy in that branch will dramatically affect these hearings. This week in entertainment, Masenko released Volume 2 of his Roman histories dramatization, The Events of Rome's Rise to Republic. Readers were dismayed to discover the accounts of Villa's reign were separated into a 2-part series. However, it did not stop the flood of praise and love for the continuing serial. We at the Global Mirror Times continue to praise this series highly, and awarded it a 4 out of 5 for the drama's gripping entertainment and unique storytelling. And lastly, in entertainment, The Grill House appears back to its weekly schedule after a long intermission. The week released a, quote, lost episode featuring a guest host, Masenko. The series, although still popular, has certainly lost some of its momentum, and will be interesting to see where it goes next. The GMT will refrain from rating this series due to our connection to the doc show. And now the latest from the Global Mirror Times. Story 1. Call for candidates Kumai. Reporter, Sirocco. The story goes as follows. Lots of placeholders here on 9th of July day. Masenko announced that the new presidency slots had opened up in the Antium, and that the first residents of our third city, Kamai, have been selected. The first residents of Kamai shall be Wes, Nojam, MJRM99, Sayax Panak, and Solace. It was announced that there would be a gubernatorial election in anticipation of the founding of Kamai. The election board kicked things off with an announcement and the town hall debate threads. The current candidates are Wes, Nojam, and Tiberius. Acetus, our senior moderator, resigns. This is a report done by Sirocco. On the 9th of July, Acetus announced that they were stepping down as senior moderator and established Nuntuk as the senior moderator. At this time, Acetus has not posted reasoning for the resignation, but he will be sorely missed. This has been House with GMT Newscast tonight on Global Mirror Times 1. We'd like to acknowledge our founders, Sir Dominator and Sir House. The regime would also like to thank our CEO, Sirocco, for his dedicated and constant work at the Times, whom, without his diligence, this network would not be produced. And finally, we'd like to thank all our supporters and contributors. We'd like you to remind you that now there is further news broadcast both on air and on our weekly news articles. But from us here at the GMT, that brings us to the end of our evening. Thank you for your company, and good night.